Hiya, it's Wendy here again from Toonpish Crafts, and I hope you're doing okay. Today I'm going to have a play around with some resin I was sent to try. Now this is Resincolour Deepcast Resin. You can see that. It's a ratio of 100 to 40 and it's just a couple of small bottles, so I can really only try it one way, and that's one deep pour. So I decided to try it in this shoe mould. Now I got this from Amazon. You get most of my moulds from Amazon. That way you can find them as well. And when it came, I was quite surprised that it's open. So all the resin is going to push it out, in my opinion. That's why it's going to work. So I did end up putting a peg on there. But I'm going to put a little colour in the bow, in the top. And let's see how I get on with this deep cast resin. So as you can see, I've already done the red UV resin bow. I just used a bit of alcohol ink to colour it red, and I did it straight into the shoe. So you can see that the mould is really flimsy, and I'm so worried that it's going to fall over when it's full up with resin. So I've got to figure out a way to hold it steady so there is no risk of it falling over, especially as I'm putting it in the pressure pot. So this is Resincolour Customcast Deepcast Casting Resin. It's a ratio of 100 to 40 by weight. So it can be cast up to 90 millimeters, i.e. 9 centimeters, which is quite deep, in a single pour. It has a pot life of 20 minutes and a curing time of 72 hours. And at time of filming, it costs £24.75 per kilogram, which actually is really reasonable price. Now, I'm not going to show you the entire mixing of this. I just wanted you to know that it wasn't mixed with the right ratio. And I wanted you also to see how water-like it is. It is the most thin resin I have ever come across. It is like water. In fact, I would say it's thinner than water. It is really thin. And that would help all the bubbles to escape over 72 hours, I believe. Pouring it straight into the shoe. Now I do see that it's going to flay out and I need to keep it together. Now my idea was a peg. A peg wasn't a great idea, but it worked. It could have been something a little less dramatic than a peg because it kind of kept it together too much. It needed a little gap really, but a peg didn't allow that. But likewise, I didn't want a wedge shoe either, so a peg did it. Now I do fill up this mould completely to the top. Maybe not in front of you, but I fill it up even more once I've put it and it's safe. It's not going to tip over in the pressure pot. I then fill it up to the absolute brim and it goes into that pressure pot and it sits there for 72 hours. So 72 hours later and it's out of the pressure pot, and I realised after 3 days I've now got to do another layer because it's shrunk back. Now there isn't such a big problem because I can do a nice sole on it and a nice heel on it. But on some projects it could be an issue. So I'm just going to take some sandpaper and lightly sand over the bottom of the shoe without pulling it away from the mould because I don't want there to be a gap. So that the next layer of resin, that's not going to be the same resin because it's only a few millimeters deep, will adhere to the deep cast resin. I'm going to need to use a resin that is for shallow pours, so probably rapids or alumilite clear cast that will cure with pretty much any level you throw at it, and put some black dye in it so it looks like a sole of a shoe, and I think actually that would work quite well. So it's worth saying at this point that I did not get paid for this. This is my own opinion and I'm trying to give a completely unbiased opinion. Good and bad points together. That is what an opinion and an unbiased opinion should be like, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, you should make up your own mind. I'm just trying to help you out with the tips and tricks maybe that I figured along the way, or helpful advice, that's it. And 24 hours later, it's time to demould it. So I'm kind of excited by this point. It's been 4 days and I can't wait to see what it looks like. I'm hoping for the best. I was actually a little surprised when I demoulded this because the effect wasn't what I was thinking it was going to be, but I still love it. I think if I made this again, I would definitely try a different base to shine through. Maybe some holographic paper before I put a black base on. That would look so cool. So in my opinion, if you don't have a pressure pot, this resin for deep pour is the way to go. Now, I did put this in the pressure pot. I don't have enough to do another one to try it without the pressure pot. So I can't put my hand on my heart and say it won't get bubbles. But after 72 hours of curing, it's extremely unlikely, in my opinion. Now, it did shrink back quite considerably. You can see the resin, the black I put on the sole there, just to highlight how much it shrunk back. If you wanted it to completely fill up a mould, you may have to go back with a second layer of thin 24-hour cure resin just to fill in the top of the mould. This is just what I'm coming up with. The red ribbon, it was UV resin and it took that so well. There is not one bubble in there. Now, I know it was in the pressure pot. I know you don't get resin bubbles in the pressure pot, but it's crystal clear. It is absolutely crystal clear. It is no yellowing at all in that, and I absolutely love it. So yeah, apart from it took 72 hours to cure, and it took up my pressure pot. I wish I hadn't put it in the pressure pot, I really do. I don't think it needed it. But yeah, I'm not being paid to say this is just my opinion. The mould itself was great, apart from I had to trim up that little bit there. It got very sharp where I put the peg on. Now, if I hadn't put that peg on, I think the whole thing would have flayed out. So I think it needed that. Maybe it could have done with a peg that had just a small grip, you know, just something in between it. Like a toothpick or something to stop it from gripping completely, but enough to grip it closed. I don't know if I'm making myself clear, but anyway. Thanks very much for watching me. Come back and see me next week. You never know what I'm going to be up to. I'll put some stills up at the end. Have a great week and bye for now.